Hello, I'm Bonnie Burkert, and you are with us on Truth Be Told, Transformation, sharing tools for transformation to live your highest truth. Today I'm very excited to introduce a teacher of mine. I did teacher training, it's been 15 years ago right now, in Kundalini Yoga. And it was at Yoga West, and I remember fondly the wisdom of GuruPrem, Singh Khalsa. Welcome, GuruPrem.
Thank you, Bonnie. I'm happy to be here.
Do you remember me in the class of 75, GuruPrem?
I'd be lying if I said I did. That's I've taught so many of these, and but I'm going to get to know you quickly now.
Well, I appreciate it. And I
future.
think that I've been transformed because I want you to know that my practice, I have been tuning in and really having a daily observation of the things that I learned in our course, in our, 10-month course. I really still ascribe to that on a daily basis.
Okay.
So tell me a little bit about your how to introduce Kundalini Yoga to people who may not know it.
Well, let me just first state about all yogas. I mean, yoga, it means union and unify, to be made whole. And what's different, it's like martial arts, there's different approaches to really the same end. Some systems are more available in different parts of the world. Some systems are better suited for people of younger ages. Some are more suited for people who have more of a, I would say, an intellectual approach. There are many, many styles. Some are very physical. Some are very meditative. Some are contemplative. Well, Kundalini Yoga tends to bring a little of all of that, or really, maybe it'd be fairer to say a lot of all of that, because it's a very large system. So it definitely has strong physical components. It definitely has classical postures. It definitely has even classical pranayama, breathing exercises, even meditations, but it does go beyond that. And a lot of it has to do with sequencing, or I like to refer to as the recipes of the sequences.
That's good. I like the word recipe. And also, I've heard Kundalini Yoga referred to as the yoga of awareness.
It is. In fairness, I would say any devotional practice of almost any yoga will bring awareness, but Kundalini Yoga does offer, maybe in some instances, many instances, maybe speedier.
Yeah.
And more, and probably better suited for the availability of, let's just say, most people's attributes and skill sets coming into it. So yes, it definitely delivers awareness for the typical person who practices it.
One of the aha moments in terms of awareness with that practice, I had been practicing Hatha and I guess it was Vinyasa flow before my discovery of Kundalini Yoga when I came to LA. I was in New York. And I remember doing a spinal twist and being told, I think it was Guru Singh, that this is working on your lungs. And I had never practiced yoga in a way that I was thinking about my internal organs.
Okay.
So you as the posture master, as the name that Yogi Bhajan has given GuruPrem, why don't we talk a little bit about posture and, again, any kind of those little tips for our listeners?
Yeah, well, my background, before I started practicing Kundalini Yoga, before that, I had actually spent time in the world of Iyengar, which is a very postural, precise system, much slower, and it's kind of his claim to fame, plus they also use lots of props, and I was already familiar with that. But prior to that, I'd spent a number of years in doing martial arts, in particular Aikido, and before that, maybe 15 years, maybe more than that, in the world of gymnastics since I was a little kid, which is really precise about posture and alignment. But even before that, and I have to give credit to my piano teacher, Mr. Hillsberg, 7 years old, the first lesson was all about posture at the piano.
Oh.
I mean, I may never get good on it, but I was going to sit like a master. So that was a big part of how you sit, your presentation. It's not only just how it affects technique, but it would eventually have a lot to do with what part of your being you were playing from. And that has really stuck with me from being 7, although I didn't realize at 7 how much. And I mean, I think about, how I sit, which part of me, where am I communicating? Whether it's out your hands or out your mouth.
Right. That is really something to work with on so many different levels. So what part of your body, how did you just say that? Are you communicating from? Are you expressing yourself from?
Well, it's interesting, and I use this to this day, but a common musical expression is if you can learn with your head, but the goal is to play by heart.
Mm.
We can say, I know it by heart. Well, it's more than just knowing your lines for a play. When you have, say, a piece of music that you don't have to think about the technique, you don't even have to look at the music necessarily, although you could, but you're in that place where you're just playing it. You won't start there. You have to think about stuff to learn, but then you eventually, and my teacher, even when I was 7 and 8, very strict. I can remember with a pencil and a cigarette. But eventually, he's Russian, and eventually I'd get these magic words. Eventually. Now just play, which means, all right, I'm releasing you from your head. Now just play.
That's incredible. Yes, something that we can apply in lots of different ways. So let's apply to a yoga practice.
Sure.
For people. So for me, I think I take that, my experience with Kundalini is that I don't have to necessarily go with the flow, meaning up dog, down dog. With Kundalini, we often lock into a posture and stay with it for a minute, 3 minutes or something like that. Not a posture, a movement, I want to say. So, and I find that very freeing, that I don't have to think about what's coming next, and that I can really get lost in that movement. And then separately, I think the movement is very activating, and we can certainly talk about energy flow, and I'm sure breath is going to factor in prominently here as well.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, locking into a posture so you can kind of get out of your head into it is really valuable. And we have all these various techniques to do that. You're going to follow your breath. Oftentimes there is a guiding mantra. I jokingly refer to it as your home office connection mechanism. Something, and I'll tell you what even precedes that. When we're talking about posture, because I want to just back up a little bit.
Okay.
This idea about what is good posture. I mean, if almost everyone, and I'm not sure if this was you, but almost everyone has been told at least a couple times in their life, sit up straight. And often that meant something about your shoulders. Shoulders back, chin in or something. And it's happening more and more. People are being sussed. That's an acronym for sit up straight or stand up straight. Okay, so yes, we've all been sussed, and more so. But the yogic understanding about just basic posture, and for that matter, we can get into yogic postures. It's about how you hold your heart. Mm-hmm. And the geometry of the body is such that if you want to do a posture correctly, you learn how to hold your heart. So really, you learn how to use your lower core, this under the belly domain to connect you to the earth, so you can support your, and I even use plural hearts, your hearts, explain that in a moment, in the right way so that you can then hang your shoulders and level your head. But even the idea of asana, which means, some would say posture, it actually means comfortable seat. And the deeper wisdom is the comfortable seat is where your consciousness could eventually sit. So first you have to make a seat comfortable enough so you want to sit in it. And you may have a placeholder, like your personal guardian angel or someone that's guiding you there. But really, all postures, if you learn how to hold your heart properly, it will inform your outform.
All right. Now you mentioned 2 hearts, and I want to see if I can.
Multiple. No, there's more than 2.
Oh, okay. I want to see if I can understand, and we are definitely on YouTube, but we're also audio only on a lot of other
Sure.
channels. So you're going to be a little descriptive on some of this,
Okay.
if you will, for
Yeah,
us.
now I can think of probably 10, and you've heard of all of them.
Okay.
You know about your beating heart. It's just slightly to the left and your sternum over here. That's where your beating heart lives. But how about these other hearts you've certainly heard of? Kind heart, warm heart, light heart, open heart, big heart, brave heart, sacred heart, sweet heart, patient heart.
Wow.
I mean, even some refer to as the immaculate heart, and whole heart. And those are the hearts of virtue. I left out true heart for a moment. And then you have these other hearts. Yeah, I've been sad-hearted. Yeah, occasionally cold-hearted.
Heavy heart.
Heavy heart, broken heart,
Yeah.
empty heart, stone heart. And great songs have been written about the cheating heart.
Cold heart.
Right. So this is, part of our language, but it's really interesting is that we are in a big part of the yoga is to understand this so that we can experience kindness, not just as a metaphor on a card, but we can experience kind-heartedness in our hands, brave-heartedness in our knees, so that it circulates. There's actually a yogic mantra for this, Ang Sang Waheguru, with every cell and fiber. You want the light of truth, which contains all these hearts, circulating.
Wow, that's
So that to me,
that's mighty.
now to me, this is really getting to the purpose. But in order to achieve that, you have to kind of go through your investigation of what has kept you from, what is there that's keeping you from your wholeness.
Okay, so that investigation might start with a physical practice of yoga?
Often it does when you start to, certainly once you start breathing deeper or faster, it starts to bring stuff up.
Now, why would that be?
Because breathing itself is a reflection and a mechanization of how we feel. And it's easy to prove. When you're nervous, look or feel closely. You're breathing nervously.
Shallowly would be one way of describing
because there's so
a
many
nervous
different
breath?
variations on shallow. So rather than, sure, but there's shallow when you're panting shallow, and there's breath holding shallow.
True.
So there's lots and lots of shallows.
Yeah.
So it's almost easier to say you're breathing nervously. You're angry, you're breathing angrily, because it's different breath for angry.
Yes.
If you're sad, there's a sad breath. And of course, now we're talking, so what is the yogic breath? Well, the foundation is calm.
Calm.
Where does calm live? In the down. Where does cool live? Down, settle, down, slow down,
Okay.
sit down maybe.
Yeah.
So actually in the physical body, there's this spot under the few inches under the belly button. And the Chinese refer to it as the dantian, and the Japanese call it the hara. It's the nabi in yogic parlance. And I don't care what you call it. But there's this spot you start to get used to where you can bring things down to here so that things can lighten up, rise up, maybe straighten up. Some instances, sober up. No one sobers down, I don't think. So we have this. So because we do want to travel with a lighter heart, because the opposite is heavy heart.
Yes.
And, dark heart's the other opposite.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go into the physicality once more. I'd like to reemphasize we're tuning in, we're feeling into the spot below the navel.
Yes,
is what we're
it's just
saying.
right.
Okay, and then so that is then a big opening breath, and inhale through the nose.
Right, you can inhale down to there, and then we learn to use some skill about how far down, because look, are you a true believer in gravity?
Well, yes.
Better say
I
yes.
mean, yes.
Okay. Nobody knows what gravity actually is, but I can prove it. I can
I was
knock
going to
this
say,
over. Well, it's the Earth's core has got a powerful pull. But we actually are gravitational fields too. The Earth's pull is pretty consistent, not particularly that smart either. But we as a gravitational field have a far less strong pull, but we're much, much smarter.
Right.
And we can choose how we wish to connect to the earth. And this smart navel works with the pelvis. We can use our pelvis because that's really our gravitational response mechanism. So you can use this to establish your connection line. And this is a really important part about a posture. Whether you're sitting and you want to use a certain part of your sit bones, or whether you want to use your feet, or you want to connect with maybe your knees and your hands, your elbows. It doesn't matter. You can use this area to establish the connection line, whether a handstand, we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
Shoulder stand, doesn't matter. Standing straight up in mountain pose Tadasana. Sometimes it's a dynamic, like a spinal flex.
Yeah.
So you learn how to this whole domain is responsible for the accuracy of your connection.
Oh, that's so great. Now, and this is why we titled the show Divine Alignment.
Right.
And I love the wordplay on all of this because we were talking about this physical alignment, but I often say aligning with the divine as well.
Correct.
In terms of a spiritual practice, a day-to-day life practice.
And why wouldn't you want to read? But it's nice to have a foundation. If you want to do that, you don't want to be obstructed by, my back hurts. My shoulders are tired, I can't breathe. If you have these physical support mechanisms, your journey into your truer self, and I'm not talking about my truth, I want you to discover your truth. So really, that waits us in the depth of your heart. That is where the true heart lives. So how are we going to get there? How are we going to go on our own unique adventure through Oz? And it's going to be, it's the individual hero's journey. That's a big part of the yoga. You just don't get, it's not like you do 10 postures and then someone waves fairy dust on you and you're enlightened. I've never seen that. It's, it's like 10 steps forward and 7 back that's good progress. That's really good progress.
You once used, I said this to you when we spoke before you coming here, you once gave a really great example and suggestion and description of managing the decline as we age and having this practice.
I want a smooth decline.
Now, and I remember saying this to somebody, I can't remember who challenged that. I'm not going to decline.
Okay, I roll my eyes up again.
But
all right. Guess you don't believe in gravity either.
Right.
Right.
So I know that we discussed the real purpose of yoga.
Right.
So I think that you're showing us, you've given us some tools now to feel stronger. We discussed a little bit about the breath and then the awareness, going into the awareness of our center.
Yeah.
Our core, if you will. You hear
Sure.
hear about all this exercise, about core exercise.
Yes, and the Washington Post just did us all a huge favor yesterday. It was the day before. They printed this whole article on how we've been hurting our health by sucking in. They're talking about the mid-upper belly. Why that is so damaging. Because everyone was been told, suck it up, suck it in. Washboard stomach, 6-pack, 8-pack, whatever they. But they have no idea. That's not the domain to engage. That is for breathing. From the sternum down, and there will be some adjustment depending on the posture you're in. But for example, sitting, when I inhale, we'll call it my calm inhale. My inhale is, the diaphragm muscle is distending down, and you're going to get an expansion of the abdomen and even the part of the lower back, but it's not going to you're not going to inhale all the way down to the pubic bone, not sitting. That you could do lying down, because you have to use some engagement to prevent me and you from falling over. You have to maintain, but the trick is using just the right amount. The efficiency of effort to connect. Okay, so if you're really good at it, you don't need a lot. It's like when I first learned to play guitar. I can tell you, those first that first G chord for those who play guitar, I used so much tightness and tension, and it sounded terrible. And then you get better at it and use far less, and you get, oh, nice G, nice chord. For the same reason why I'm terrible at golf, I don't practice, because I haven't got to that point where I'm not using too much effort.
It's like force
Yes.
versus flow.
Yes. But even with flow, you still have to participate. And it's the intelligent participation. And we need this if we're going to find our way through the labyrinth of me or you. And that's, that's your hero's journey. And one of the important hearts is, what do heroes have that non-heroes don't have? And we're all our own heroes. It's courage. And courage literally translates to depth of heart. Core, in about 5 languages, means heart. Corazon in Spanish. AGE, which means the depth of time. Okay, so where's your timekeeper? Boom, 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 boom. So
that is profound.
So we want to, the prize is in the depth of your heart. That's your true heart. And when people say, I mean it from the either bottom or depth of my heart, they're speaking from the truest part of themselves. And the whole point of the yoga, we have to kind of do these things or let them do us, which is kind of a more profound approach, so that eventually you're living truthfully. Now, if you're living truthfully, you are bona fide yogi. Doesn't matter. You don't have to look like me. This is just some sophisticated tools that I borrow. It doesn't matter. The goal is to live truthfully. And again, it's not my truth that you're living. It's yours.
Right on.
So you can have your own interesting adventure. Bonnie's adventure through the land of living her truth. That's yoga. The rest, honestly, it's my opinion, these are just tools to help you go through it. And the biggest thing will be the tools that will help you become courageous on your personal adventure and what's going to be required of you. It's not just me, me, me. It's about, we're connected with everyone else, so it's required. And if you want to be able to go inward, you're going to have to be serviceful outward too. So we have this concept, seva. Without doing seva, you will never have the deep experience of meditation.
Seva is sacred service.
Yes.
So, and that could show up in any form.
Oh, absolutely. There's so many ways to be of service.
Yeah. Can we stay on truth? Because our show is called Truth Be Told.
Oh, yes.
And so I want to stay with that because
it's a good idea. It's
are,
a big subject.
Our Kundalini, our greeting, our main mantra is Sat Nam.
Sat Nam.
And truth is my name.
There's a lot of ways.
Help me with that.
Okay.
And that's SATNAM, and I will put this in our comments.
Right.
Talk to me about that. I want to talk about truth.
Oh, I want to talk about truth, Bonnie. I do.
Fantastic.
All right. So shall we start with scientific truth, just so we have some parameters?
Yes.
Okay. So absolute truth in the scientific realm is that which never changes. We have a problem right there because we have never measured anything that hasn't changed. And we used to have these sort of, maybe, we said, we can't find anything that never changes except they used to believe speed of light. Well, that never changes. Sort of. In practical terms, it doesn't, but it gets weird when you start to look at things in sort of the quantum and the outward, perspective. But then, that's not quite true. It can never change. Okay, so what in your life has never changed?
My heartbeat.
Oh, no, that changes
that
all
changes.
the time. I'm putting truth. All right, that which never changes. So if you take it to that, it would be formless. Truth is formless, which is now getting us to why they call the heart chakra the anahata chakra, which is unstruck sound. This is the whole idea that defies the laws of physics, that unstruck sound. You've never heard an unstruck sound to your ears. You're talking about nothing becoming something, which is happening in your true heart. What is it becoming? You. You're constantly being recreated by this magnificent miracle called you. And that's what, in the depth of your heart, truth. So relating to things that never change is a really advanced concept, but we can do this. So by even suggesting that my essence, my name, my heart, I prefer that one these days,
Okay.
my heart is true. The depth of my heart never changes, but my relationship to it changes, and it's shown by the qualities of my behavior. This is where the heart starts to circulate. I have become kinder, more patient. I have more forbearance. I'm more forgiving. And I've looked at the residues of my past, and I go, see how I got into trouble.
Right. That's that's helpful, because I've definitely thought about it in a lot of different ways. So this is transcendent, and I appreciate that. So I want to talk about your book.
Okay.
It's called Divine Alignment.
Alignment.
I know you've got several, so we can bring up
Yeah.
some of the other ones, but I titled the show Divine Alignment because I thought
Okay.
it was perfect in terms of spirit as well as form. So let's talk about you as a writer.
Okay. I like to write. I like to write books, although certainly I haven't written any books since 2012. I did Everyday Devotion. Before that, I wrote Divine Alignment. What year was it? 2004. But I had been wanting to bring a little technical understanding. I wanted to bring some of my training in other areas into the realm of Kundalini Yoga in order for people to have a better understanding, and to bring some of the principles of sacred geometry into the understanding.
Fascinating to tie it all in. Okay, so you can't really show us, but maybe if you want to give an example of
We even name a piece. Well, consider this, and how important this part of the anatomy is. There's a large bone. I think it's the largest bone. Yeah, it is. This largest bone in your spine, and it's got a very sacred name. It's called the sacrum.
Yes. Okay.
Now, I wasn't around when they were naming the body parts, and I don't think anyone in this room was around. It was a long time ago. Curious name. Why would they name this bone? And it's a triangle-shaped bone. It's got 8 holes, 4 on each side. What does sacrum even sound like? Sacred, possibly? Yes. And what does sacred actually mean? It means to sacrifice. What does that actually mean? It means to contract for an expansion. Now, the reason this is really important about the sacrum, sacredly, is the sacrum as a bone is holding the entire skeletal system together. So it's at the pelvis. Okay, it's in place to support the legs and then support the spine. This thing, if this is out, if that's it, this house crumbles. It's making a sacrifice for the greater good. And then all the muscles that you use, this is the foundation of our connections to Earth, so that you can connect to Earth's core, and then take advantage of what's called the rebound effect of gravity to help make you feel lighter. It's all about connection. It's also the foundation of your connecting with people. Why? Because speaking on an exhale, I haven't said anything today on an inhale yet. I don't think so. But this is all part of this, This is there so we can use these muscles to support respiration, inspiration, expiration, even goes to the far as aspiration. Nice spiritual words, all of them.
Yes.
And so, when you understand that, you learn how to use these foundational tools. A lot of talk about pelvic floor. Well, that's really important, but the pelvic floor actually works in concert, which I actually talk about in the book, with the thoracic diaphragm. They work together. So when they're not, I mean, they're supposed to work together, that's I should say, but oftentimes they're not, causing conflicts, physical imbalances, and I wouldn't even begin to guess so many other things.
Divine indeed. Okay.
Right. And where are we going on? We're going on an adventure, and it's not straight up and out. That's what some people think. It's not a vertical. No, we're going to be doing a lot of, this. We have a lot of exploration to do, in this temple of the soul.
Yes, indeed. So let's talk about then, we've gotten to a comfort level with some of the physical postures of yoga.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of
Let's
up
talk
dogs
about
and
what it's
downs.
really, I just remember, yeah, right. Up dog and down dog. I just remember when I asked a teacher, how much yoga do you do every day? This is my teacher, Dharma Mitra, in New York, a long time ago. How much yoga do you do every day? And he laughed at me, and I was thinking I was asking him about, he teaches classes and then his own personal practice, and he laughed and he's like, I am always doing yoga. All is yoga. And I'm sharing with you my light bulb moment. That was the big aha for me. After who knows how many years of weekly classes back in the 90s in New York City, and felt it. I mean, I meant it, but then suddenly it was a different way of being. So please share your illumination with all of us.
Well,
in
we're
terms
always
of that.
doing yoga if we start with the idea of living truthfully, and then we sort of solidify the idea back in your body. And we have to do, again, we need to do a certain amount of physical activity, whether it be very, structuralized in yoga postures and breath, or whether it's just go to the gym. Whatever it is, you need to give support to your spirit. Otherwise, your spirit will be misguided. You want to have your spirit connected in the right way. Otherwise, bad spirits. Conspiracies are a wonderful thing, but we've made it pejorative because all it means is with other spirits. You want to get around, people who can help elevate you. So those are good spirits. But, you have to be sensitive about, for me, I don't spend time in bars. That's not the place for my spirit. Someone else might find it really helpful. So we start to look for, that's why group classes, and I've missed those,
Yes.
are so helpful.
Same. Yes.
Because, keeping up on your own is not quite as easily done when everyone else is sort of you're in the energy of the group.
No, I definitely feel that. Well, you've got a couple other books, so can you tell me the titles of your other two books?
Well, the other two, there's the bookend to Divine Alignment, which is called The Heart Rules. And what that is, I took the really, really technical, and I sort of made it a good bit more playful while still being technical in the Heart Rules. And so that breaks down. I decided to take more challenging kriyas and make them scalable.
Okay.
What that means is show people how they could learn them.
And we should describe kriyas for people that don't know that term.
Right.
Is a sequence, right, of movements.
As I said, the recipes.
Recipe, I love that.
Now, kriya also means the action. So when you combine these, it creates an action that becomes hopefully a positive activity.
Okay. Yeah. That's great.
And so that's what
another
that
thing
book,
to look at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the person who helped make it with me, she made me a bit of a cartoon throughout it. So there's a lot of drawings.
I look forward to checking that out. Now, and you're also a musician.
I am.
So I know you've got some releases out with Simran.
Yes.
And so where does music fall into all of this? I know that I've definitely practiced to some of your songs, your really cool guitar playing. And
well, as I said, it all starts back when I was 7 with Mr. Hillsberg. I never stopped playing piano. I took some hiatuses from playing a lot, but I never stopped. I'll go in and out. One of the things I found out in the lifestyle I'm in is that there's a special place in it if you're a musician. In the whole Sikh tradition from India, the entire sutra language, it's all done to music. And it's fine just to be, we encourage everybody to sing, so everyone's a musician. But I was drawn to wanting to play an instrument. And I have not studied classical Indian music at all. I know about that much compared to what's out there. I mean, I can act like I know something, but really it's pretty vast. But I decided, what, I'm going to express myself in some of these traditions with a Western approach. And so piano is can be used. It's just not portable.
No, that's true.
Guitar, on the other hand, is so easy to use.
What did Yogi Bhajan refer to the guitar as?
He said the guitar was the battle axe of the Aquarian Age.
I mean, it's interesting to use the term battle because we're really trying to bring forth love. But hey, I mean, the tradition
well, we
is...
are. Look, we're all battling
we're warriors. We're
negativity.
warriors.
So, right. I mean, it's not about harming and it's not about overpowering people. It's using it. Music is an impactful device. It can cut through a lot. Everyone, they've done so many studies on music and how it affects moods and personality. But the guitar itself, because it's such a part of our common pop culture, and for me, certainly at the time, we're talking 70s, my musical heroes in my earlier years, they were all guitar players.
Like who?
Oh, let's see, starting with Jimi Hendrix, possibly.
Sure.
Pete Townsend. God, I could go on. Let's see. Certainly the Beatles,
George,
Yeah,
Jimmy Page.
Keith Richards. I'm saving my feet. We have, guitarist from did I say Jimmy Page from Led Zeppelin? Soundtracks of my youth, right?
Yes, yes.
And of course, being you're 15, you want to be cool. So I did play piano, but it just wasn't cool. So I took up guitar.
And the guitar is very, very cool. The battle axe for the Aquarian Age. Play it loud, everybody. Step away from all that digital music making. We need guitars.
I used to feel that way, but I'm of the opinion whatever moves your spirit, because it's going to come out of a speaker, even if you go to a live show, it's still coming out of a speaker. If you like the way, if the air moves you into the right place, God bless it. But sometimes the air doesn't move me well, so I've got to pick the kind of air. All music breathes. It's moving air.
Yeah. Waheguru. So we're going to wrap this up with some tips for those of us that sit at the computer all day. So help us out, please, posture master.
Okay, so let me just give you some technical advice about just sitting and life in general.
Okay.
Think about these 3 H's. It's going to apply to so many aspects of your life, and it goes like this: hips, heart, head. Always make your first adjustment in the hips, because that's going to be your primary connection device to the earth. Okay? And you want your hips are there to give support to your heart, and then your head. So if you're going to sit up straight, you have to set the base in order to hold the heart, to hang your shoulders, then you can level your head. So if you're going to lean into a keyboard, you don't want to lean in head first, because it'll collapse the heart, it'll weaken your spine, and it'll make your breathing labored.
Okay.
So make your first adjustment. This is where you get the laws of geometrics work for you. If you make your first move a little bit from here,
meaning that
yeah, just lean in from there first.
Okay.
Then you can adjust here. But now this will be, the heart's better supported. So I'm not saying you can't bend this. I'm just saying make your first lean a little bit, because you don't need a lot, just a tiny bit from here. And then here, because now your head's forward. Now you're just going to feel better. But that just takes practice, because most of the time we're...
Oh, I know. And it takes awareness. I mean, when you're talking about that, I know it's so true. I mean, it's the new posture.
And now we're all head forward, and that's...
Yeah, I've really been...
I mean, it's a problem, because your
some
head
that.
gets 1 inch in front of your this alignment, it weighs an extra 25 pounds on your neck and shoulders.
Yes.
That's what it feels like. It doesn't actually weigh more, but it feels like that.
Well, thank you. And for making us aware.
Okay.
And again, the name of the show, we reference divine alignment. And I love that because what we're describing, I feel, with the alignment that you just discussed, hips, heart, head, I think that there is that positive flow. There's an ease.
Yeah.
And through that, I think we just become happier and well.
And just to conclude, also, hips, heart, that's how you inform how to do yoga. If whether you're doing a forward bend, if you start with your head, you will, compress the heart, which will tighten your hips up. If you move this way, it's gonna change everything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, indeed.
consider that. And if you want to find me, I haven't been such a preference on my website. I've got to get better at it. But definitely Instagram, which is just GuruPrem K.
Oh, wonderful. Absolutely. And we're sharing some links on the YouTube channel as well with this interview. And because there is so much to learn. And again, I always have enjoyed your classes so much and here in Los Angeles. And I look forward to more when we can find the studios again. I think that they took yoga away from us in a way when we needed it most in 2020.
Yeah, they're starting to creep back, but it's not there yet by any stretch.
Yeah, so practice on your own, and if you have any questions, you can find Guru Singh. You can certainly ask me. This is something that's very important to me, and thank you for your service, for your seva, in helping teach all of us to be more divinely aligned.
Thank you.
Satnam, GuruPrem.
Satnam. Thank you, Bonnie.
Thanks for listening, everyone. It's really been a pleasure. Truth Be Told Transformation. We are on Mondays at 3 with Robert Hensley's Minuteman Report. I'm on every Wednesday with a new episode. And, of course, the mighty Tony Sweet every Friday live at 3 p.m. Pacific. Thanks for being here. Again, follow that truth, tune in, and always remember, namaste.